Good evening, everyone. I'd like to open the meeting of December 5th, now 7 o'clock. We'll jump right in going forward. Have all the board members read the minutes of the last meeting? So I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. I have nothing to report at this time. But I will ask Nancy. Nancy, do we have any subdivision? Any new plans? Nothing? Okay. Consulting engineering report. Kev, do you have any news for the board?
No.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? It's not on the agenda for tonight, but it does fall under stuff that you would report on, because they're looking for the planning board to sign off on the Berthold extension. Were you able to get up there and double check the only thing on our end I think that we had outstanding was the knotweed, and I was assured by the developer that it's been cleared. Have you been to the lot?
I've been up there, and I provided some comments back. One of them about the knotweed, because I saw it was on the May renewal. The second, there was a condition of a bond and the other condition of the removal of the knotweed. So I asked the developer for some sort of documentation, aside from verbal that it's been removed, so.
Yeah, so he had reached out today. I thought pictures probably would suffice, or if he went to the site visit, he was asking if we could go to the site and then he would show us that they've been removed. But have you been to the site?
I have.
So is it visibly gone?
The knotweed, I was looking more, some other features to see if some of the drainage and wall had been built. And particularly with the wall, found it different than the approved plan, so I've asked him to update his drawing to show that. The knotweed I'd have to look at again.
Okay.
I being familiar with that knotweed, it can take a couple full seasons to get rid of. I don't know this time of year, with the cold weather coming in, that could guarantee if it's not there now, it won't come back. But so that being said, I think the construction's gonna go on into the spring. So just it could be a carried item, I suppose. Could allow the building to go on, but under the stipulation if anything comes back next spring. I don't know the history of the knotweed issue particularly, or if anyone's overseen any of the removal to date, so.
Well, I know I have a lot of it at the end of my street, and it's still standing. It doesn't die down and fall down. You kind of step on it, knock it over, or pull it out. Not that it doesn't come back, but, so I guess just from, Nancy had given us, they're looking for the building to start their building. We certainly wouldn't, I don't think we would hold up their building on, it seems like they did make an attempt to get it out. If it comes back, then maybe we could address it at that time. But, the board have anything else that they would,
I thought there were two other conditions.
the bond, Nancy, they have the bond, correct?
I think so.
Can we double check that?
I thought we did when they came back.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
They were supposed to also re-inspect the,
We made sure they had the bond before we took the vote that night. We had to continue it to a meeting. And so other than the bond, what was the other issue?
well, we had the problem with the bridge, as I spoke to Kev, going over the bridge, the bulkhead walls in the bridge were collapsing back into the wetlands. They were supposed to repair that before they started any construction.
A bridge? Where's that bridge?
There's a roadway that was put in over the wetlands.
Oh.
And they put oversized block, and the blocks are tipping. They're listing at about 22 degrees last time I was up there.
It seemed pretty straight vertically when I went by, and they put erosion controls, down towards the wetlands of that. But the fact that, you know, on the original plan, it shows the wall being battered, and it's vertical. I've been provided an updated design, but also in that, the wall is longer than, the plan showed to be 25 feet long, about 50 feet, so I could, you know, I could provide some photos, but again, it's an issue where I see that paving not occurring till the spring. I think if there is work on the wall to be done, I could see the contractor doing that also concurrently with building 3 or lot 3, but if they were to come back and try to build another lot, or, you know, essentially by the time they pave the road, that item would have to be kind of agreed upon versus the design and the install, I think. So
as far as the planning board is considered for signing off, just to get the project started so they can build it, is the board comfortable with doing that?
Put it to a motion?
I make a motion to sign this so they can get started.
Can I get it? All in favor?
Aye.
Robert?
Yeah. Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. There's a few things, we'll give you a list, maybe you can check with them all.
okay.
Yeah, it needs to be a signature there. All right, that's it for me. Anything else?
No, begun the review of these, but I know we'll hear more about them tonight. But nothing to report back.
Moving
We have,
forward,
7 minutes.
it's a little early. You wanna go
Want
to-
to take a temporary
Take 10 minutes.
recess, and if anybody has anything you want to talk
How
about
would you
for
do
7 minutes?
I have a motion before me to take a short break to take a further look at some of the information that we just received.
I'll second that.
So the 7:15 public hearing?
All in favor?
Aye.
Take a short break. All in favor of opening the meeting back up?
I'll second that.
Everyone in favor of opening the meeting?
Aye.
All right, meeting is now re-adjourned.
Okay, we'll take item 7 on the agenda, which is the A&R plan for Broadway, out of order.
I need a motion to take that out of order.
Just made the motion, I'll second
Okay,
it.
you second it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll take that one first.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Rich Williams with Williams and Spragus. This is obviously a continued meeting from our last discussion about this project. When we last met, you all were going to talk to town council, and my understanding is that happened, and as a result of some communication, we added a note to the plan saying that lot L1, it's noted on the lot itself that L1 is not a separate building lot, and then there's also an additional note saying that in the lower right-hand corner of the plan. So it is not a building lot now. We're gonna, the plan is to cleave a small piece off to correct an encroachment on the shops, and it will not be a separate building lot after we do that. So we're not changing the nature of it by doing that.
Mr. Chair, given the fact that they've added that note on there, I would be willing to support the same.
Put a motion. Sir, Mr. Long?
Explain the encroachment.
The pavement that goes around the shops, part of that lies within the land owned by RFF Family Partnership. So,
Are you gonna sell that, if it's approved, are you gonna sell that small lot off to the people that own the shop?
it'll be conveyed to the shops, yes.
That's lot S1?
S1 will be conveyed to the shops, correct.
Have they
And that is noted on the plan.
agreed not to use it in any fashion other than what it's currently used for?
I don't know that, but they can't do anything other than receive it without coming before the planning board for site plan approval if there was some change proposed out there. I don't know of any change proposed. This exchange is to rectify an issue, not to do further development as far as I
Rectification only
know.
takes, with you, a short span of time, with us, a long span of time. It's forever.
Okay.
That's it.
I don't have any questions.
Any questions from board members? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the A&R as presented with the notes that were added.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
And make another motion. Can I get a motion from the board member to accept A&R number 8 on the list?
So move,
You want to
take it out of order.
Okay,
Taking it out of order, so.
second?
All in favor? That motion passes 5-0. Is anyone here to represent 409 Lindfells Parkway?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Rebecca Edmondson Coram. I'm a zoning attorney who is filling in for the person that submitted everything. But I think I am a zoning attorney, so I'm gonna just present this if you don't mind. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. So, much like the last gentleman that was here, I want to note off the bat that we are trying to divide this lot into two lots. One at 11,000 square feet, a little bit over 11,555, and then lot B will be 20,000 square feet. Lot A is not buildable at the moment, and if you look at the note at the kind of in the middle, it says the lots are not to be considered separate buildable lots unless or until zoning relief is granted by the town. I know that he spoke, my colleague, that originally put this before you, spoke with outside counsel or town council, Mr. Schwomey?
That's opposed.
Schumer?
Schumer.
Third time charm.
My goodness, I'm so sorry. It has been a very long day. Okay, my apologies.
Not at all.
My brother. I know that you spoke with Mr. Turco about having these designated lots. The 11,000 square feet does not make it a buildable lot. As I'm sure you're aware, it's 20,000 square feet for a single family. We're going to be converting the lot A to a single family, but there is also a variance proposal before the BOA. However, the BOA cannot award a variance to a lot that is not established. So that is why we are here today. Both lots provide for frontage that is compliant. That's why it's under the A&R. And that is about all I have to say. And as far as my knowledge extends to the property, though I did drive by it before I got here. So.
Question to our council. Jesse, Lot A currently has a dwelling on it.
My understanding, Mr. Chair, is that it has a commercial structure or a structure that's previously been used for commercial. There may be a residence.
It's both, yeah, it has a residence and commercial.
It is residentially zoned.
It is
It
different.
is residential zone.
It is.
Okay.
And I believe it's the intention of the,
The entire project.
The entire package is, R2.
Yeah.
This also has a brook on it.
It is, I did see that, sir.
Has this been before conservation for?
This has not been
reason, or-
before conservation
It
yet.
hasn't been.
I do not know if
Okay.
it is declared that it has to be. I'm assuming it might be.
Okay.
I will defer to my brother here.
It will be, but that's not
Okay.
tonight. Tonight,
I
we're
get
just
it.
voting the A and R.
Okay.
They'll have to do all that. If they're gonna build a house or do any of that, they'll have to do it across that bridge when they get to it, no pun intended.
Any work within 200 feet would be subject to the conservation.
Conservation. I just bring that to the applicant's attention, because that'll make her a lot smaller as far as buildable. All right.
We're probably not gonna,
Can you approve an A&R with a condition?
Not to answer a question with a question, but do you have a condition in mind, Mr. Chair?
That Lot A, until it goes to the ZBA, doesn't change from what it is right now.
It doesn't change from,
Well, there's a dwelling on it,
correct?
so by granting them the permission for Lot B to separate the two into two separate lots, this will not change, nothing will happen to Lot A until it goes before the zoning board of appeals.
So, Mr. Chair, there is a note that designates that on the plan.
Yes.
And according to Massachusetts law, unless and until they get the variance for that Lot 1, they would be able to do nothing with Lot A. I mean, they would be able to do nothing with Lot B because of a doctrine that's known as infectious invalidity. That means that the zoning violation for the one lot affects the second lot. So they won't be able to do anything with Lot B until they get the variance.
Thank you
if
for
they
that.
get the variance.
And is my
Any
understanding-
questions for the board members?
Further clarification. So this Lot A, which looks like according to the note that they're going to inhabit, supposedly someone is there now, but it was, as long as I've been up in that neighborhood, it's been a business.
Flower shop, I think.
And so I guess somebody has been sleeping up there from another hearing we had with the Board of Appeals and so.
there's
another
a
issue.
house too, there's a house in the business.
In the past, we have separated land in East Saugus to allow two brothers, one to build a house. Sure enough, the other brother was donating the land, left himself short, and wound up having to go to the Board of Appeals. So, my problem with this is, I'd be voting to create a lot, a livable lot, well, potentially livable, because it's 20,000 square feet on that side of the front. Far short of what's required if they got a zoning change to allow it to become a residential area. Right now, we're talking about having a residence in a B2 area. Is really what it comes down to.
But Mr. Long, that's what the residents wanted up there, that's what the whole neighborhood wanted, when they wanted to make this a
It comes down
business.
to what I would support as far as what I think is the proper way to do it. I've been with many hearings with lots of residents. I'm not going against them. I'm just saying that we have rules and regs of our own that we have to abide by.
So
And-
would that change, excuse me, would that change to come before the ZBA?
Yeah, all of that does.
Yeah.
Tonight, the only authority we have tonight is the A and R, whether they meet the frontage and the zoning. Correct?
Correct. So if the board were to vote to endorse this, your concern, Mr. Long, the two lots would still be considered one for zoning purposes, though the lot would be split based on the line that you're creating. So until they get the variance from the zoning board that they're asking for, it's not two separate buildable lots, it's one
Right.
separate, one lot.
But we would allow a building to be habitable
That would be up to the building
in
inspector.
a B2 zone.
That would be up to the building inspector. This is R2. No,
No, excuse me. You said it's R2 or B2?
It's R2.
So the entire lot here is R2.
Yep,
But it was a non-conforming use
correct,
when it was a floor shop.
correct.
After it was abandoned, it resorted back to R2. That was the whole issue, why they couldn't open the tuck shop, because it
They
resorted
went
back to
beyond a
R2.
2-year period of time.
Right.
All right.
Any other questions from board members?
Nope.
Did I get a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve the A&R as presented here tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstain.
Thank you very much.
My apologies.
No,
I saw that house before. Good to see
you too.
you.
Do you have mine?
I don't. Oh, good.
Board members, we have 2 informal discussions that I don't think will take long. Would you be willing to take them out of order?
Yeah, we should we pack the public hearing? The public hearing for subdivision?
It's with, we're early.
We're 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
Public hearing
There's
for
another one ahead of
7:50.
it. Yeah,
Do it.
oh boy.
We need women on this board, please.
Let's,
I am totally outnumbered.
I'll retract that.
Nancy, you need to move your seat over
The
here.
next meeting is a public hearing for 7:15. Mr. Lou O'Neill from Twin Springs Estate.
Good evening, I'm Lou O'Neill, 1 Twin Springs Drive, Saugus, obviously. I'm here representing Twin Springs Estates, requesting a 1-year extension on the definitive subdivision plan that we have.
And how many lots do you have left up there?
All lots are currently being built or construction going on. They're all permitted. Well, we're permitted. There's one at the end of the development that was permitted, but the town took back the permit. Has nothing to do with me. But the houses are all permitted.
So how many lots are not built on yet?
There's 3 lots that have construction going on with it right now. 2 are very active, and 1's not active.
And once those 3 are done, will you be completed, or you,
Yes.
okay.
But
Okay, and how long do you think you need to complete those?
He's asking for a year, I believe.
A year?
yeah, it's a 1-year extension. It should have been done this year, but had some delays getting permits for the structures.
Okay. So you're not familiar with this yet? You haven't met with Mr. O'Neill?
I
No,
dated 23, which was a National Grid project, so
Correct.
23 Round Hill, but not on the other properties.
Yeah, the 23 was a request from National Grid to trench the gas line into the house. And it was delayed extensively. It wasn't being processed. And we were fortunate enough to have a new engineer come by and meet the right people, and things got done.
Okay, good, glad to hear
We're
that.
very happy to have them.
So you should be in good shape if we give you a year extension.
Yeah, the one that's not active has an issue with National Grid because that was never approved for the trenching in the town, but that's not active today. And unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen with that because the permit's been withdrawn by the town. And
Can they resubmit for the,
oh, they have to. They will. I mean, they've got almost $1 million into the structure, and they're going through a tough time.
sorry to hear that. Well,
I don't
hopefully, things are looking up. We are fortunate to have Kevin
One
on
other
board,
question,
and
if I may.
he understands that time is money in working with the residents and
I'm
the
sorry?
developers. He understands that time is money in working with.
Yeah, that was
Residents and
unfortunate in the past. We're moving forward, I think.
Yeah.
And you're still handling your own plowing up there?
My own what?
Your own plowing?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You might want to just tell that to Brendan. And again, get a motion from a board member.
I'll make a motion to grant Mr. O'Neill a one-year extension. Which brings
Second.
it states.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Good luck,
Thank
Mr.
you,
O'Neill.
everybody. Have a good night.
One minute. So we could, well, we only have a minute, so we might as well
Raising
start something
King
else.
is not here.
Raising Cane's not coming, then
Do you want to
continue.
take formal out of order?
Yeah, we can do that. No, we got 1 minute.
I get a motion from a board member to take an informal discussion over the planned public hearing.
Well, isn't it 7:30?
Yeah, I would say.
No, it's almost 7:30. A little before.
Well, you know, anything.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a second?
No,
Second.
they don't want to do it. They
I'll
wanted to take
second
the
it.
public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye. No.
Motion didn't pass. Okay, we're gonna move on to the
Public
public hearing. 7:30, it's a definitive subdivision plan, Collins Ave, Essex Landing. Attorney, wish you may.
Mr. Magnus here. Mr. Feldman's here.
Good evening, members of the planning board. My name is Paul Feldman. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Mike Touchette is a principal, and Paul Marchanda is the civil engineer. I think the planning board is familiar with this definitive subdivision plan. It was first presented as a preliminary plan back in the spring, and now we're following up with a definitive plan to address, and we made a couple of corrections to address the issues that the planning board identified with the preliminary decision. Just to remind the planning board, the purpose of this subdivision is solely to lock in place the zoning in effect in 2023. It is not a subdivision road that is going to be built. It is not a subdivision road that's going to be used to convey any lots. Essex Landing as a development is going to remain just as set forth on the master plan until the master plan is amended by this board in connection with the development of an assisted living facility. Just by way of background, Wingate, an assisted living developer, and TB Holdings, the principals of lots 4 and 5, or units 4 and 5, the remaining undeveloped units at Essex Landing, spent months trying to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement as we work through some interpretation issues under the zoning bylaw with regard to assisted living facilities. While that was going on, there were some proposed changes to zoning, particularly surrounding height, which we can understand makes sense for the town at large and the district at large. But when you apply that height, the changes in height to this particular property, when you already have the other buildings in place and we're trying to put the assisted living building in to finish it off, and we know how tall that building has to be, we said, gee, we better lock in the zoning that was in effect when Wingate, the assisted living developer, started working with TB Holdings, and that was locking in the 2023 zoning as opposed to the changes that were made at town meeting in the spring of '24. And the primary change that we're focused on is the height change, because you couldn't build the assisted living building that Wingate wants to build under the new height requirements, but we're okay because Essex Landing under the old bylaw and the selectmen variance would work. The selectmen special permit that we have that was issued for the hotels would
Let me
work.
interrupt you for one thing. I believe that permit is expired. No work has been taking place on the project for over a year.
Yeah, so there's going to be an interpretation issue. We'll go back to the selectmen. We'll either ask them for a new special permit. We're going to go back to the selectmen no matter what. We're going to ask them for a new special permit or for an amendment of the special permit. The question is whether or not the special permit is lapsed or whether or not, because Essex Landing started to be developed, it still survives. Either way, we're going back to the selectmen. So we're going to be back before this board for a modification of the site plan and the master plan. We're going to be back before the selectmen on height, but we want to be back to the selectmen on height based on the 2023 bylaw. And so what this subdivision plan does is it enables us to do that. And so I could let Paul speak to the changes, but there were two major changes we made. Is one, we brought the cul-de-sac, again, this is just on paper, it's never going to be built, but we brought the cul-de-sac closer to Route 1 to Broadway, so we meet the 500-foot, dead-end limit, which was one of the points that the planning board pointed out on the preliminary plan. And the other thing we did was correctly pointed out that if you actually build this subdivision road and it becomes a street, again, it's not going to be built. We're not changing the Essex Landing development. But if you did, you would have to take the area that's occupied by the road, and you would have to remove it from the lot area because it's now street. And if you remove it from the lot area, that would make the lots slightly smaller, and that would make the number of dwelling units that exist there now non-conforming, because you can't make the lots smaller and keep the same number of dwelling units. So we addressed that concern by pointing out in our application, and we would absolutely accept it as a condition of approval, that if the road will ever be built, which it will not, but if it will ever be built, we will remove 5 units, or whatever we have the unit count, 5 units from, the lot that would be affected by the lot area being taken out. No one wants to see the 5 units go away. We're not going to build the road anyway. Again, this is...
Take 5 units from?
Well, we would have to discontinue. We'd have to disconnect 5 units from one of the buildings because we would have too many units because the land area went away. But we're not gonna do that. So it's never gonna happen. But we understand from the planning board's point of view, you would put in a condition that said, look, if you build this road and your lot gets smaller, in order to conform to zoning, you got to eliminate those apartment units, and we would. So. That's
So
it.
why wouldn't the road get built? Isn't there an agreed upon connection between the Maddie's lot?
No, you don't need this subdivision road doesn't have to be built. We would use the driveways that are internal to the Essex Landing development, just the way it is today. This is, I know, very confusing to the planning board. The whole purpose of this subdivision is to lock in the applicable zoning so the project can be finished under a bylaw that we have been working under for years and years and years, and that Wingate understood was the bylaw that it was going to have. And we completely appreciate the town updating its zoning bylaw and looking at the highway district and, bringing back some of the more liberal zoning from years past and making it tighter. But for this parcel that's already 3/5 developed, it's the last piece of the puzzle, the assisted windmill, is going to fit into the projects and to the heights of the buildings that are there. Applying the 2024 height limits would just potentially create an issue that we can't get around, and Wingate would just go away. And we don't think it's in the interest of the town. I don't think the town believes it's in the interest of the town. So we'd like to get your approval, lock in the zoning, and be back in front of this board with a modification to the master plan and to the site plan. And just for those members of the planning board that may not know, prior to filing those 2 plans that I had previously told this board we would be doing, we have to have a department meeting that's convened by the town manager, and all the department heads give us feedback on the proposed plans. That meeting was held on Monday of this week. So we had that meeting, everybody was there. Hopefully we'll get comments back from the various departments, based on, the assisted living plan that we presented. We'll take those comments into account. We'll modify the plans accordingly based on the comments, and then we'll be officially filing our application with you.
So under the new zoning, how many floors would that allow
What
the assisted, because currently, right now, you're proposing, what, 6 floors?
Well, what the assisted living proposal is there's going to be 2 levels of parking, but they're predominantly underground because they're going to get built into the hill. And then there is going to be, 4 levels of, no, it's going to be, Mike, you got to remind me, 6 levels of residential units above.
But the front of that dwelling, the underground parking, is accessible off the street, which makes the front of the building an 8-story building.
It would be it would be mirror image to the buildings that are there now, where the front's exposed and it's back into the hill and there's 6 stories above it. That would be the mirror image of the buildings that are there now. It would be less height than one of those buildings, but way less height than the 2 permits we got before for the hotels.
Right.
Because it's residential use. Like when we went to the Board of Selectmen for our height permit the first time, they made us come back with specific heights for each building. So they didn't want to give us a blanket permit. So we went in 68, 72, 78 for the highest hotel. Now we're dropping that back because it's more like a residential type of building. So when we go back, like the attorney just said, we had our meeting the other day. Once we get our input, we'll see what happens and we'll come back to the board with the plan. So the intentions would be to keep the buildings all in parallel. The other option would be to separate the building and build 2 smaller buildings, but then we're using up more green space. And you attended the meeting the other day, you can see it's a pretty nice open space with the green space, with the closed-in courtyard. So we're trying to keep that, to keep the building consolidated to their use. So based on the market study that was discussed the other day, this is the market study they came back with, and they spent a lot of money on that over the last 3 years. So, like the attorney just said, we're just trying to lock in that zone so we can keep moving forward with what we've been working on for 3 years.
Yeah, it's the project that we're presenting. We're not locking in the zoning to present a different project.
Right.
It's not this project I'm worried about, it's that.
I'm sorry?
It's the 5th one. I'm just kidding. No.
Well,
It does still involve the first project, which is not completed from my standards. We need to see a definitive parking plan on how this is all going to work.
100%, but that, you need to see that, 100%.
I understand where you're coming from, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, no.
Right now, I have a denial of a condition that's been placed upon the property that hasn't happened.
I don't understand I don't know what you mean.
Mike's aware of it, this comes from the Wetlands Commission, this project denied for the following reasons?
Right, that's not final because it's under appeal at both DEP and in court. And in fact, we actually had the DEP site visit, and we just actually got a suggestion from DEP that there's no reason why you can't do what you're doing. You should maybe go back to the conservation.
This is all I got, so that's.
No, I know, but it's under, that's all you have, but it's been appealed. That's not a final
I have
decision.
no idea of that.
No, I understand. Well, you're not the Conservation Commission,
Right.
so why would you know that? I understand.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah. No, there's a superseding order of conditions request in with DEP, and the site visit is ready as happened. And at the site visit, the hearing officer made some suggestions. Frank was there. I think what's going to happen is we're going to be going back to the Concom and getting it squared away. But we haven't done that yet because that site visit just happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we just got the letter today.
Right.
And as far as the other parking lot in the top of the hill?
Well, when we come back in with the master plan, we're gonna resolve those temporary parking lots. Last time I was here with Jesse Schumer, we said when we came back with the master plan, we will show that. And in the meeting the other day, we showed how those parking spots disappeared. And the building inspector requested a parking chart, which we're working on, to show them exactly how many parking spots we have, what's required, and how many extra spots we have. So I'm 100% confident that when we come to this board, hopefully in the next month or end of January, with the master plan, we're gonna show you how many spots I'm getting in that new parking garage that we showed you on Monday, and how many more spots we're getting outside. So we're gonna, at that time, that parking plan will show no parking zones, and
So will that be shared parking, those new parking?
yes, we have some shared parking with, because it's one site, but the land is condominiumized because of
Right.
financing, it's all shared parking. So until the whole puzzle comes together, it will show all the parking. Like right now, I'd have to build the parking lot before the building, and then it would be in the way of building the building. That's one of the things we talked about in this meeting before. So when we come in with the modified master plan and site plan, we're gonna show you, even without the parking down below that we're trying to work out with conservation, that the site meets more than all the parking requirements. That's one thing we'll show this board when we come back, hopefully January or February with that master plan.
Yeah. And one other thing, just one thing just to remind the board. We submitted a modification of the site plan for those temporary spaces to, point them out to the board, but the suggestion was made by Jesse, and it was fine with us, that rather than do the modification of the site plan piecemeal, present one consolidated modification so the board can completely understand how this project's going to get finished out, and that's what we're going to do.
And I just want to point one other thing with the parking, with the assisted living is, you guys were at the meeting, they want the parking under the building so they have flow in the building for those people. To build a separate parking garage, which is on original site plan, which would be a third structure, then the people have to access that concrete structure. By doing this parking underneath, their experience in this business, the people can flow up. The vans pull underneath, they get in the elevators, and they go directly up to their use.
But those parking spaces are gonna be shared with other buildings as well, correct?
Well, just like the structure,
Right.
structure parking lot would be.
Right.
It
But at least
allows
it'd be
for
under
more
the
open
building.
space, and it also allows for open
They have
space.
minimum outside. If you notice on that site plan we submitted on Monday,
Yeah.
there's 197 spots under the building. And instead of having a separate structure, which was on the original site plan, we tried to bring it underneath so that people could go right up.
Yeah,
So that's part of the motive for that building being built that way, from their experience, which Dave explained in the meeting on Monday, which when we come to this meeting, they will be attending this meeting. The assisted living people, their attorney and their builder, and their architect, so we'll be coming all together.
Maybe when we schedule those site visits too, we should
Right.
invite the board, the whole board. if they
Right,
want.
well, I talked to Mr. Crabtree and I said I was coordinating a van, so he was gonna get back to me, so anybody, when that time comes that
A
wants to go.
van? What about like a limo or
Oh,
something?
Yeah, so they just so.
Is it a school bus?
No, nice van.
How about a coach
No, we'll have
bus?
a nice van. No, I'm saying, Mr. Crabtree suggested that whoever involved in this wanted to go visit one of the other facilities.
Right.
Or two of their
That's-
facilities, we're gonna coordinate it, because the town doesn't, I'm not saying they don't understand, but just so we can see what we're getting. I mean, Wingate's a great operator, and that's one of the reasons we took them instead of going down that hotel route, and especially with
No, we
COVID and
definitely
everything.
need this. We need assisted living. We don't have any. Definitely need this more than we need another hotel or two. So I would agree with
And
that.
so that we're trying to stay on track to be able to do that, and it'll be much simpler to just do it based on what Wingate always understood the zoning that was going to be applicable to it was going to be, which is the 2023 zoning. And that's what this is all about.
Question to our legal counsel, Mr. Schuler, is that part of the court agreement? That you guys, talking with Jesse, is that part of the court agreement on the zoning and the rest of it?
There's no court agreement.
Oh, there's no court agreement?
There was a court decision,
Okay,
and the court decision clarified two issues for us
Okay.
that were not clarified. One issue is, does the term assisted living facility in your zoning bylaw allow for some units to be what we call independent living, and some units we call assisted living, and some units we call memory care? And the court said, no, the way we interpret assisted living when it's not defined in your zoning bylaw is that they have to be licensed assisted living facilities by the state. You cannot have independent living facilities which don't have to be licensed. So they clarified that for us. We went back to Wingate. Wingate said, no, but no problem. 100% of these units will be assisted living units. There will be no independent living units. So that was an important clarification. The second issue the court decided was is an assisted living facility subject to the residential density requirement in the highway business zone? And the court said, no, an assisted living facility, the way the zoning bylaw is structured, is not subject to the residential density. We needed that answer so everybody knew whether or not we could have an assisted living development, because if it was subject to the residential development, we don't have enough land area to allow for those assisted living units. If they were considered residential, the court determined under the zoning bylaw, no, they are not considered residential. So with those two answers, it allowed the project to go forward, and we all understand on what basis. That's what the court case did for us.
Thank you.
And that's accurate, Jerry?
More or less.
Sorry. Yeah.
A little bit more than less, wouldn't you say, Jess?
I have
Any
a question.
question? Mr. Thompson?
I wasn't obviously at the meeting, just curious, the parking plan, the final parking plan, does that include on-street parking where right now, any given night, you know, you have the road up top lined with cars both sides?
Well, again, when this project was approved, the zoning that went through at that time, it was 1-for-1 parking with shared parking, right? So now the zoning has changed. So, but that project was approved with 1 unit, 1 parking spot. So now we're gonna provide enough parking spots to meet the zoning plus have extra amount. So we put 197 spots in the garage, and the hotels needed that garage that was on the first site plan, because it's transit every day. There's people switching, driving in and out. With the assisted living, if they need 45, I don't know the number, but it's a lot less number of parking. So we're gonna engage with them to have garage parking and on-site parking. So it's still one parcel of land, but it's subdivided into condominium. They just own the land where the building is and the building. The condominium, the whole site, is controlled by us. So as far as snow plowing goes, all that, they'll be paying a condominium fee for that part of it. So that's why it's not like we're going on their property, it's a condominium. The land, not the building, the land. So
Will the on-street parking stay though?
no, well, we're gonna try to get rid of all the parking and enforce. You know, a couple times the fire department came on the left side behind Building 40, they made me etch out no parking fire zone. So we're gonna be able to provide enough parking, hopefully, not 2 parking spots for every unit, but we're gonna end up with like 41, I think, extra parking spots.
The whole point is to eliminate people parking on the street. Right now, because there's no, if you think about the big area where lots 4 and 5 are, nothing's going on there. There's no parking, there's nothing. It's just like, there's gonna be a parking
temporary
garage there with 100,
There's a temporary parking lot currently on that.
Yeah.
but not for all of the land.
No.
Not for all of it.
So, just before you continue, I went up there Tuesday morning because I was trying to understand all this. I counted 90 cars between the 4 parking spaces that are currently there. So counting what you're now going to court on, the 2 spaces that are owned by Vada Trimont
Yeah.
Aggregate, and the one that's there were 90 cars in those spaces. This morning, there was only 60, but that's what I'm saying. There was none on the side of the hill. But the road coming up, I had to back down to let whoever was coming out pass me on the 24-foot street. So that's why I believe he's asking that
Yeah,
question.
well, we're gonna provide as many parking spots as we can. You know, we just started a sticker enforcement because people show up, we found out people were parking there going to the airport. So in the last month, yeah, we you know, people were parking there and Ubering. So my daughter, who works for me in Muncie, we just gave everybody that lives there a sticker, and if they want a second one, they have to record their car, and the other cars are getting towed. So we've been working on it right now, really hard, and if you know anybody that lives there, they'll tell you that. We just went into this whole parking permit procedure because we found out people said, oh, my friend lives here, and they were Ubering, parking from New Hampshire and Ubering to the airport, and they said they were staying at their friend's house. So we're getting to the bottom of all that extra parking, and now we just enforce the parking permit thing, and then whatever parking we have left, the people that want to buy the second parking sticker, we're going to be able to have all their license plates in there, and any cars that aren't registered, they're going to start getting towed. So we're working on that right now because it's always been an issue. But anybody can check with the office. We've been working on it for a month. So we have different color stickers right now for every building. We only gave one to every resident, and we're trying to weed out the people that are just parking there. There's a lot of people that just are parking there. Trucks, U-Haul trucks, and they're going to work and they're doing different things. So we're working on it.
Thank you.
Now, the assisted living, the ratio for parking, I know it's less because it's assisted living, but you do have quite a few two-bedroom units there. You
Well, he
expect to have
explained there's one with a den, didn't he, or was it two
one,
bedroom?
well, there's some that
They're
are,
called
there's
two
some
bedrooms on
one
the
bedroom, then you
plan.
have one plus, and then you've got like, I think 75 two bedrooms.
But we don't have any independent, so independent people drive cars, right?
Yeah.
We have
But
assisted and memory
could-
care.
Assisted
Yeah.
could,
Yeah, but
We're gonna get, Wingate's gonna be able, we talked to Wingate
Yeah.
after the meeting, we're gonna be able to give you all the numbers.
okay.
And Dave
Given
said that
this,
he's gonna
that-
provide two vans up there. He said in the meeting that are gonna shuttle people all the time, so they don't recommend for people to have cars. And he talked about that
Well,
in that
they-
meeting.
And they'll
They're-
have nursing staff on, they'll have like licensed nurses.
Yes,
medical
yes.
care on staff.
Yes.
24/7
Yeah.
Yes.
for them. Because I
Yes.
think somebody had asked that about that
Yes.
too. So they do
Yes.
have that.
But it's like
kind of-
one nurse for every 15 or 20 rooms. So that's one car.
Yeah, no, it's, the ratio is, at night, it's not, they don't have 5 nurses. There's gonna be 220 units, there's only gonna be 1 or 2
No, I wasn't even
nurses.
thinking about the parking for the
Right.
nurses. I
Yeah,
was thinking about the
that's not,
taxi.
they don't have that kind of ratio
No,
of
I
nurses
know.
to units.
Well, we'll get the ratio from you.
100%, and what Wingate told us, just so you know, because they count this, and we know this from other assisted livings, the memory care units, there's 0 parking, they're memory care. These people are not capable of driving, they don't have.
That's the smallest number, right?
So that,
Memory care? It's the
yeah, but there were
smallest, that's
26 or
special care.
33 of the units were memory care. All the other units, Wingate is going to be able to demonstrate that the actual parking and most towns require. The zoning bylaw in Saugus does not have a parking requirement for assisted living. The building inspector asked us to provide information so he knows the basis upon which the parking should be. It's for every 2 units, you need 1 space. And we're gonna have to demonstrate that to the building inspector, we're gonna have to demonstrate it to you guys, but we fully expect that of the proposed 220 units, there's like 30 that are memory care, brings us down to 180. There's going to be 90 spaces that we need for the assisted living. There's going to be about 110 or 112 spaces that are going to become available for the balance of the community, which is what's going
What
to...
about the staff, Mr. Feldman?
No, we're gonna account for the staff too. It's gonna be, we're gonna account for it. We understand, we completely get, you're 100% right. The staff person's gonna have a car, we're gonna account for the staff in our parking study. We're putting it all together right now. I mean, we needed to, nothing's gonna get built until you guys review it and decide that you're satisfied with it and approve it, because we can't build it without the entitlements.
Would there be any more questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Long?
Why are we here? I mean, this is a subdivision, right? Why is a subdivision necessary? We
To
running out of time?
freeze the zoning. It has
Why
not,
do you need to freeze the zoning? The
because,
zoning is already established. No one's gonna change it for you.
no, the zoning
Well, the zoning has
the
changed.
zoning that we're freezing is the zoning from 2023. It changed in 2024.
And what's it now currently zoned at?
Well, the change in
about
the
the
zoning
height.
is the height.
The height. It's about the height of the.
It's only, it's the,
No. Subdivision and the height, right now, 2 different things. Why are we changing a subdivision?
No, it's just a Massachusetts law that gives us a tool to lock in the zoning. That's all it is. It's a tool that you can use as a developer to lock in the zoning. So if
But you
something,
don't have to lock in the zoning.
We do,
It's-
because-
No, height is different.
no, that's what we're locking in. We're locking in the height.
Zoning is usage. Height
the
is a
requirement in
different
the
story.
zoning has changed, not the zoning, but the parts that make up the zoning have changed.
Height is part of zoning in Saugus. Height is a
It's a
component of the
special permit by
zoning.
selectmen, That's why it comes down to.
No, but
But Bob,
But
at
this is subdivision.
town meeting, we voted, Mr. Sereno had some
I
articles, and we
understand,
voted to
Mr.
reduce
Sereno's
it.
right there, we
Yeah.
made a change, okay?
So they can't go in, reopen another permit, and use the zoning that had the density of 30 units per acre, it's now down to 20, it's now 1.5 cars, so the zoning has changed and they don't want to go to the
All right,
2024.
it's changed for what? is my
I'll
question.
tell you exactly. I could answer the
Are we talking
question.
about the change because they want to put in assisted living, for which you just had said we don't have a zoning requirement for?
No, we have a height requirement.
We have a height, but we don't have on the assisted living.
For part-
Assisted living is very important to me as to how we're going to regulate it.
Okay.
And I don't see anything here that says anything about regulating assisted living. I think the Board of Health, for example, should be involved in it.
So when they come
I mean,
before us for
you
the,
mentioned earlier, excuse me, you mentioned earlier about having somebody on staff. How many hours? How many total units are we gonna have? Are you gonna have an ambulance standing by? I mean, we only have what, 1 or 2 ambulances covering the.
No, we had a problem the other day,
11
I
square
brought that
miles
question
to
up
the
on Monday.
Saugus. So I mean, this, you're talking almost like a hospital.
It's
Very
not,
similar
it's not
to-
a hospital. It's not close to a hospital.
but I think, Bob, when we will address all those issues when they come before us for the modification of the master site plan. Tonight, we're just talking about,
But what does this give them tonight?
why don't you ask Jesse? He'll explain it in.
I'll tell you exactly what it gives them. You want me to tell you exactly
No,
what
I'd
it?
like to have,
All right, we'll have Jesse tell you what it gives you. If you want to see the changes, Jesse, right here.
So the reason why the developer has filed this subdivision application is because, as Attorney Feldman mentioned, they're looking to lock the zoning requirements that were in effect as of the date they filed the preliminary subdivision plan, which was prior to the town meeting in the spring. The height requirements in the zoning district were modified, among other requirements, at the spring town meeting. And what the developer is trying to do is to go under the pre-existing zoning so that they're not required to honor the current zoning.
so town meeting last spring had a zoning article, which we approved unanimously, I believe, that changed the rules here.
Yep.
And now they're trying to avoid in operating under the new rules versus the old rules.
That's exactly what they're trying to do, but I'll say that what they're doing is completely legal. It's provided for by the subdivision control law.
I don't have a problem.
It's a protection for landowners and developers who are seeking to develop their land to have protection from.
Well, as a town meeting member, an elected town meeting member, when I vote for something, I expect to follow it. That's what my point is here. To allow somebody to come along and bypass that, I really don't think it's fair to the town meeting members who voted for this, who voted for the change. Prove to us why we shouldn't stick by it, is what it comes down to. Prove to me why I shouldn't go along with what we did last spring. Not you, Jesse.
No, but can I,
I'm
no,
not even gonna try it.
no, but can I just point out one thing?
By the way, 4 of us here are on the town meeting.
Okay, but let me just point out one thing. I take your point. I understand your point. But I just want you to recall, we filed the preliminary plan before the town meeting. So, and we had to, as a matter of law, to be able to avail ourselves of this statute. We're not doing something that the Commonwealth doesn't allow you to do. So because we filed the plan before the town meeting vote, I know the town meeting members would know that, but the town meeting vote applies to every part of the town, but because we filed this plan before the town meeting, the Commonwealth's law would say, well, it doesn't apply to the land shown on this plan only. So if we didn't file before the town meeting, you're 100% right. I wouldn't be able to go. I would have to comply with it, but we did file it before because the law allows us to.
My point to you would be that the law was changed because people in the town and town meeting saw the necessity to do so.
Right.
And I would never go back and face them having voted for what they, voting against rather, for what they voted for.
I hear you.
It becomes a legal issue, Robert.
I don't care who it is.
No, I understand what you're
Let the
saying.
court settle it.
It's a legal issue. They filed before the change. Then the change was approved. If they had filed after the change,
Right.
then they would be held accountable for that.
Right.
So this
You're
is,
saying that this was filed
This was filed before the town meeting,
Before you made the change, exactly.
So right now, it's really up in the air.
Well, it
Because
is and it isn't.
planning board hasn't taken an action on it.
No, but that's why
So
they're
it's
here
still
tonight.
susceptible to the changes that were made at town meeting, which were really asked for by the entire town meeting and the public behind it.
But they had the filing in before it was filed.
I'm just telling you how.
I know, I understand what you're saying, I'm not saying, and I understand what Mr. Feldman's trying to bring across. It was filed before the vote took place.
That's a hard thing to explain, John. to-
No,
What town
and
meeting
this is a
member-
hard thing to understand, so.
Oh.
And if our council wants to help explain it a little better, I'll take he's our council, so, but are we out of line, Jesse? No, so, and I understand where's Bob coming from? Had it not been filed before the town vote?
You're having also, remember this, you're having a change in proposal too. Originally, when this whole thing was proposed, you were talking about hotels.
So-
Now you're talking, excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Go
now
ahead.
you're talking about assisted living.
Yep.
Altogether a different ballgame.
Yep.
So, my concern is that the way the whole thing has been presented to the town from its initial point of introduction to now is totally different.
This is an
Then what?
improvement.
Totally different than what those of us who voted to introduce Chapter 21, the multi-use and business property, totally different from what we were looking at back then. And I have a hard time reconciling myself
Well,
that we should do something different.
the world was different in 2016 than it is in 2024. You adapt because right
And it will
now,
be different tomorrow.
that's right, but the town needs assisted living. It is
I'm not saying I'm going against that.
Right, but what I'm saying is the assisted living project will not be able to go forward on this property if we're not working under the 2023 zoning. That's what that was the basis of Wingate going forward. So we're just going to lose Wingate, and if we lose Wingate, the assisted living project is gone. I'm not trying to threaten it, I'm just saying what the reality is. That's just what the reality is. That's why we want to protect it. Everything we've been doing is been trying to keep Wingate in the fold so we can present to you an assisted living plan that you find acceptable. We got to do that. But we're not going to be able to do that if we're not dealing with the 2023 zoning. That's all we're trying to do at this step. And we're going to fully discuss and answer every one of your questions regarding the assisted living development. And if we don't do it to your satisfaction, you're not going to give us the approval. We know that. And so we're going to work with the town departments, we're going to work with the planning board, we'll work with the Board of Health, we'll work with everybody in the town. We're told, and we have no reason to believe this is not the case, this is the type of the piece of the development to finish out Essex Landing that the town now wants. We want to try to get it there, and we'll see if we can do it. But until you guys give us the approvals, we're not going to be able to do it. But this is a technical step. It's a technical step. It's for me to be able to call up Wingate tomorrow and tell them, yep, we're under the 2023 bylaw, just like you always thought. That's why we filed this plan before town meeting, because the planning board, gave us the definitive subdivision plan. Stay on course. Let's get the master plan in, let's get the site plan modification in, so the planning board and everybody else can decide if they like where this is going.
I want to point out one other thing that came up in the meeting the other day is Wingate has a number of units, whether it's 200 or 210, that's the suite number that works. So they discussed that in a meeting the other day. So it's not like it's going to be 400 units, because that doesn't work, and it can't be 80 units.
Right.
So they did a study, they spent a lot of money on this study. They're going to provide it to the board, they promised everybody to be, and they're going to show you where the suite number is that makes this project work like in other communities that they're in. So that's why the building it's not larger, it's not smaller. There's a suite number that makes it, to make the occupancy number work, and to make the whole system work. So that, we discussed that in a meeting on Monday with the department heads, and when we come back to this board, their architect and their construction team will explain that to this board, where the suite number is.
You know, we're not asking you to vote on the assisted living today or authorize anything about the assisted living.
No, we
We're
understand
asking
that.
you to allow us, we're asking us to allow us to keep Wingate on board. And I know what I'm saying about Wingate because Wingate asked me to represent them in the permitting process when they go forward. So you're not going to see a different lawyer for Wingate. You're going to see me. And right now I'm here for TB Holdings because TB Holdings is obligated to get Wingate the 2023 bylaw. If TB Holdings doesn't do that, well, Wingate can walk away. That's all we're doing tonight.
So Jesse, do you see any issues with approving this?
My recommendation to the board would be that you take this under advisement, you review the plans with your department heads, and confirm that it's in compliance with the subdivision rules and regulations, and that all of the necessary waivers that may be needed from your technical design requirements of the rules and regulations are complied with. The developer will need also to provide the Form G covenant for the subdivision, as well as the Mylar that the board will need to endorse. So you have 90 days to review the subdivision. I believe it was filed early last month, so you have plenty of time to do that. So I don't think you need to
So
take a
it's 90
decision
days from when it was filed, so
Correct.
it'd be,
And I could talk about this with Jesse afterwards. We have no problems giving the covenant, Jesse, but we're never going to record this plan or the covenant. We just need an endorsement. So, but I can't get the endorsement without the covenant, but we're never going to go to record with this plan.
Hey, I'd have a question about the you mentioned the town meeting, the motivation to change the height requirement in the first place, and if this building, I think at the other meeting you said the base elevation is 93. The building being on a hill affected it all, but you know, just background for me on what was the height requirement, why it was changed, and how you see this in the elevation that's proposed at, if it's an issue, more or less of an issue being at that height, if you're able to
so you're
recall into
looking,
that.
would you be saying you're looking at like four stories versus the 6?
Right, the height.
With under the new zoning, you'd only be able to go up like 4
You wouldn't even be
stories?
able to, it would,
It was created more open space when Bob first brought that zone in front of the town. Like you have a paved parking lot like the Hilltop was in the Kowloon and everything. It just gives you more height. For me personally, I like to build a better building, steel and concrete building, so that's why I had support from the fire department and everybody. So it's like Legos, stack them 6 high or spread them out. So it just creates more greenery, more open space by having the height. So when I got my special permit, the Board of Selectmen said, we're not gonna set precedents in the town, but you're at that end where one day Trimont's gonna be developed. And it was a little more easier for me. And we had the board come to the buildings and we walked around and we put lifts up and everything. And they understood that site. So they made it very clear that, they weren't gonna say precedents to the whole town, but they gave me my height permit. So we started building 68, 71, 72. And at that time, like the attorney said, the hotel business was booming, and we planned on building 2 hotels. Since COVID came and these other hotels at Quality Inn, they can't survive, I had to look at something else. We've been working with Wingate for 3 years. Then we had some issues over defining the zoning. So we went to court, and the judge gave us a decision on what he thought. So they were happy with that, based on their building. So now we're coming in with this plan. So if we don't get the old zoning, Wingate might walk away because we explained to the board on Monday, we're under a time frame with finance and everything. It's an $80 to $90 million building. They're in business to keep building these things in other places. So right now the study shows in 3 years that this area of Saugus works. They're willing to get on board, but we've been 3 years trying to get this building approved. And overnight the zoning changed. So
And I get that, and I do think it's a good idea for the community to bring in the building. I'm just trying to get a grasp of the height.
it won't be higher than
the
the buildings that
zoning-
are there now.
But if the new zoning was to apply, I think this building was gonna be 70 feet above grade.
Right, 71 or
What-
70.
Yeah, what are we talking?
It would only be a 4-story building going forward.
And 50 feet.
So pretty significant.
Yeah, it would make the project uneconomic for Wingate.
And a 4-story building is like, I don't want to use this, but like the Hilltop, those wooden, less quality buildings. We're gonna build steel concrete for levels and then metal frame and everything. So we end up by the building code, once you go past 5 stories, the code changes. Once you go to 6, it's a whole different building. And that's why the fire department, everyone was always on board, because the type of construction, you know? Once we start building lower buildings, you can't afford to build them out of steel. So once you go past 5, you have to build them under type 1 construction. So that's one of the motivations that also came with all that, because all the buildings I own there now, and the 2 buildings we're gonna be built at the Maddie site next door, we're gonna start in the next month or 2, those buildings are gonna be steel concrete construction. And we have a height permit for those buildings. So that area is all gonna be in that 60 to 71 foot area. And then if we build 2 squat buildings, it's not gonna look
Yeah,
appropriate.
uniform.
It's gonna flow.
So Jesse, do you think, how much time do you think we would need to take this under advisement and review it? Could we put them on for the next agenda? What is our next schedule, what's our next meeting?
19th.
The 19th?
December
Would that
19th.
be enough time to review it?
That may not be enough time. You may want to push it to your first meeting in January.
So January,
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
when we conclude tonight, I'm gonna make a motion
Second.
to continue this.
second?
I think we need to find out, as was stated earlier, as far as parking in assisted living, we really don't have a standard for that in the book. I was looking at while we were talking. We need to develop that. I do think that we need to have something from the Board of Health, who should certainly be interested in an assisted living facility, to find out, what their concerns may be.
We did that in the DPRC.
What was
So
that?
the DPRC is a department meeting where,
Okay, I'll have to be honest with you. When we passed that, I thought it was gonna bring the department heads together, but the members of the committee who are gonna be voting aren't there. And I think there's a certain
But can I finish and tell you
But-
what a DPRC
No,
meeting is?
no, but-
DPRC meeting is when all the departments come together, without
Department
us.
heads.
Department heads come together, police, fire, Board of Health, the manager's there, everybody's there, DPW, engineering. They get the preliminary plans, they give feedback, it takes weeks. Then we compile that, it goes back to them. They do all that work before they come to us. We're not involved at the beginning level of that process, nor should we be. That's for them to come up with a plan, then they bring it to us, and then that's when we have our input. You can't put the cart before the horse,
Right, but one,
or you're gonna go nowhere.
but
If you
I,
continue the hearing,
no, but
you
Bob,
can get this information.
We are gonna continue, but we're not getting, this is only this definitive subdivision plan. This is not the actual plan of the
Definitive
building.
subdivision
That comes
plan-
after.
The definitive subdivision plan that we're being asked to sign would fall under the new regulations that were passed by town meeting last spring.
So the bottom line is what they're telling you tonight. Without that, if they go under the new zoning and they can only go up 4 feet, it's gonna kill the project and then they're not gonna do
If you
that.
continue the public hearing.
That's what we're talking about. We're picking a date to continue it to.
Why don't we-
To January
why don't
2nd,
we just
so then
make a
we can get
motion
that
To
information.
continue the hearing after
Well,
we
for
hear from the
Christ's sakes,
public.
that's what I'm trying to do.
okay. Can I just clarify one thing if I can for Bob, because I understand your point. Can I just make one point? When we file for the assisted living project, we haven't filed for it yet. When we file for the assisted living project, and the planning board is going to have to consider a modification to the site plan, the planning board will ask the Board of Health to give the planning board input. The Board of Health is going to input to you guys when we modify the site plan. We're not doing that tonight, and we haven't asked for that yet. But just your point is, I want to hear from the Board of Health. I think the Board of Health should be giving us input. Your process requires that to happen. When we file for the modification of the site plan, the Board of Health is going to comment to the planning board about what it thinks about that project. You're going to get the comments.
What if we decide we really don't want to change it to assisted living?
You're going to vote no.
No, then a lot of time has been wasted between here and there. I'm not saying that that's gonna happen. What I'm saying is why can't we hear now from the.
Because we're not ready to present the final plans, because it hasn't been designed.
You already have another company that's gonna manage it for you.
Yeah.
So you're someplace
But
along the road.
it hasn't, the site plan hasn't been fully designed. We gotta get the feedback from the department
Why
heads.
don't you just come up with a proposal for the site plan for the next, maybe not next meeting, but the meeting in January?
They have one, that's what the DPRC was about.
That's what they're responding,
We can't permit submit a site plan if we don't know what we're submitting under.
Yeah,
That's like open for review, that doesn't work. And we're not changing the zoning of the use. This is an allowable use in the zoning.
under both zonings.
Right,
both,
hotel, assisted living, office building, it's an allowable use. We're just looking for the small facts that make it work. That's all. We can come in here tomorrow. Just because we put on a master plan a hotel, at that time, this board requires, like, we're doing the Matty site. What's that gonna be? A restaurant. If we wanna change it from a restaurant, we have to come back to this board. So they were looking to label stuff. At that time,
And when your plan is finally submitted, I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of conditions that are put on this building.
Right.
But we're not at that point yet.
no.
Right.
And the Board of Health brought up the grease traps, the kitchens, they talked to Dave about it in that meeting.
Yeah.
Right, and he's gonna go all over that, like a restaurant or a hospital or whatever, you know what I mean? That stuff is gonna come.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
I'm gonna place you.
at this time, can I make a motion to continue the public hearing
You can.
until January?
I suggest this is a public hearing to see if anyone's in the audience to speak
Oh,
for it.
sorry,
correct.
yeah.
This is a public meeting. Before we take a motion, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
How you doing? Mike Sereno, 54 Gates Road. I was the author of all these zoning changes that we've done over the years, and I can see what the applicant wants to do. He wants to freeze the zoning. In '23, we changed it. The zoning was 90 feet. We didn't change it down to 60 feet until last year, '24. So I see what they want to do. And the units we lowered that to 20 units per acre before they filed, and last year we just lowered it down to 15 units per acre for residential.
So let me ask you a question, Mr. Singer. So if this project should go forward, what is the height limitation under the zoning that they're looking to?
90 feet,
90 feet.
yeah.
Okay.
The buildings over there now are
Because I thought in
around 70
'23
feet.
we had.
No, it was always 90 feet since the 60s. But one thing that they failed to mention on the court case, which I've certainly read several times, and if I'm wrong, Jesse, you can correct me, he was correct in saying that with assistant living, it doesn't count towards the 20 units per acre, which was, they're trying to freeze the zoning at. Independent living, if it went to independent living, it would cover under like a residential zoning. They're only limited. They would have to fall under the 20 units per acre. And right now, they're at 256 units over there. So they're already over the 20 units per acre with a 10-acre lot. So just to kind of clarify what's going on here.
Okay.
And as far as the parking, there's a public street, I believe, Collins Ave. I remember town meeting accepted it as a public street.
Well, that is gonna be something when they come through it. That's gonna be I'm gonna put that burden on the developer to, when I talk to the Department of Revenue, I'm gonna, again, pass it on to our new engineer. That was accepted by the DOT as a Saugus street.
Yeah, we'd have to go through town meeting
If it was
first.
voted in town
to do
meeting,
it.
it's why there's a problem there, I don't know. It was used against the loan money from the Department of Revenue at the time. Department of Transportation, I'm sorry, to get funding for other streets to do it. So there's a lot of cloud there, so I'm gonna leave that up to the applicant to prove to us what's there.
Just on that point, you had raised that with us at a previous meeting.
That's correct.
We have looked at every annual town meeting vote since Collins Avenue has been built. The town meeting has never accepted Collins Avenue. There is no vote. We've looked at every single one. And we have a letter from the select board indicating that it's not today, a,
You can provide that to, right now?
Yeah.
I know Mr.
Yeah,
Seals is a selectman.
I know people have a memory that, oh, we think we did it, but you haven't done it.
Well, according to the Department of Transportation, they have it as an accepted street. That's only their standards.
Yeah.
So
Can I just-
I just need you as the applicant to prove to us,
Okay, I'm happy to, well,
That's all.
we
but
provide the
that's coming down the road.
Yeah, we provide the information, we'll provide it again.
Can I just ask what's the difference if it's private or public? I hope it's public because they can plow and sand it because I spend a lot of money on it. I just don't know the purpose of that in this whole thing because I don't occupy Collins Ave.
What I would suggest, if it was a public street, that after the project's all done, you prove to us you have the parking on the master plan, it could come before the Board of Selectmen as the traffic commissioners, and we could
Post
get a
no parking.
recommendation
Okay.
from the police department.
And then the
post no
town would
parking.
maintain the street.
Yeah,
That's fine with me.
yeah. And then we could go up there and ticket, but
Yeah, that would be great.
we'll have to see
Well,
what's
based on
going
our
on.
Because I built it to town spec, just so you know, sidewalks and granite curbing and everything, when it was designed.
Right.
Because when I improved it, let's say, right, it was a dirt road. So when we built it to width, curbing, and sidewalks to town spec. And if it did get accepted, that would be great. But that has no effect on my project. Except for parking, then we could
it
post the
could've-
parking.
I'm almost positive it was voted at
No, it
town
was never, we
meeting.
looked and looked and looked. We had
Well,
two-
it might not have been accepted by the state, because I know you have
No,
to
he's
survey
saying
the
no,
whole
no,
road.
There's not a town meeting vote, we've looked at
Yeah.
every warrant article.
From how far back?
When it was built,
When-
when Mike.
No, we
built
went
Collins
way
Ave.
back.
Well, no, this is back in the early 2000s.
Oh, all right.
Rich
well,
Magna, I
Yeah.
thought, but we'll check with the clerk again. Rich did some homework on it, Rich Magna. We'll check with the clerk again. If
Yeah.
it is, then it's approved, then we come back in front of the board, get it accepted, and that will control the
Because
parking.
I've been at town meetings since 1975, and
Okay.
every certain amount of years, every 4 or 5 years, the town would bring
Collins Ave?
forward some
Oh my
streets
God,
to be
if the
accepted.
state
So
accepted
this was
it,
back a
Well, that's
while
the
ago.
problem.
That's part of the check.
But it all has to
How much
be
was that?
surveyed,
That's what I'm
That
saying.
would be great, that would help with the parking.
right, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Serena.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other questions from board members?
Anybody else?
I believe he's the only one left.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay. At this time, I will make a motion to continue the public hearing until January 2nd, and we can have everybody review what they need to review, and then we'll come back here for January 2nd to
I'm
take a
not
vote.
gonna be here January 2nd, but I'm not sure you need me.
I'll be here, I'm sure Rich could come with me if we need him.
Okay.
I'll be here, Jim.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll leave
All
it
right,
as
thank
a-
you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Good
the
night.
explanation.
Have a
Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas
Thank you.
And if you want
and
to
a Happy New Year,
coordinate,
because we won't see you till the 2nd.
Jeannie, with this board to come on that field trip in the next month, right?
Yep,
We should coordinate whoever wants to come from the town. We'll
definitely.
be in touch with that. I'll
Okay.
Rich another memo.
Okay, yes, certainly.
Don't
All
they
right.
have one that's
Thank you.
closer?
Norwood, and then Scott Crabtree said we'd like to go to Rhode Island too, and then have lunch, so we'll see. We'll put it together.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank
Enjoy
you.
your holidays.
Thank you.
We won't see you after New Year's.
Yep, Happy New Year. See you next year.
And it's too bad it doesn't work at the same time, so you could understand it, but it doesn't work that way.
No,
Old school, new school.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
take care.
Have a nice night,
You
and
too.
ladies. Mike, have a good
Yeah, I
holiday,
feel
thank
bad we
you.
didn't take them out of order.
Next on the agenda, Mr. Long? We're still in motion, we're still in session.
Yeah, well, wait, before Jesse goes.
We have an informal discussion on an as-built for Rivercrest Circle
I'm
subdivision.
sorry we didn't take you out of order, we should have. I thought that was
I
gonna go
tried.
quick.
All right. So I'm Brandon Nolan, PLS for Audie and Dwyer Land Surveyors, 59 Appleton Street, Saugus. I believe we've been in front of you guys a few times. Last time we addressed some of Larry Durkin's comments, the town engineer. And as far as I know, we've addressed most of those. And I haven't met the new town engineer, but as far as I know, you've had a chance to
I
review.
met with David on the project.
Okay.
And met with the DPW, so the sidewalk work.
We did the sidewalk
been
work.
accepted.
Yep.
There was a recommendation from Engineering Alliance to raise the hatch to get to the sediment collection.
Okay, yeah.
Is that a recommendation that you have an issue with, or
So,
could that be completed?
so I think I can have the applicant speak to that, Billy Burke.
William Burke.
And I will, for the rest of the board, I believe, even with that, you're only asking the town to take the water and sewer, and the association would maintain the drainage.
I think that's
Correct.
what we're talking about,
We have an
right?
association that was formed in 2011. I think everything is done except for that, raising them portholes, and I think at the time when they were doing it, Menino Construction told me, a lot of cities and towns, they don't like seeing them manholes being popped up out of the streets. So he told me that they can be inspected with a probe from probably the street drain, so.
And this
that would be,
wasn't
the
for-
association would be taking care of that if there were ever a problem anyways.
I believe the recommendation was just for the containment prior to the water holding tanks. It's to collect solids.
Yeah, there's a particle separator before
The particle separator.
Before the,
So
right.
I believe that was the only recommendation, to have that hatch accessible.
So we were hoping, the association would be responsible for that and putting the pavement back, if we weren't to have to
Instead of
access.
disturbing the pavement and making maybe a nightmare, whether, it's already been 12 years now, hasn't been any problems. If there's ever gonna be a problem, the association's gonna have to take care of it. It's not part of the town, so.
They'd have to put it back, the asphalt how it was,
So instead of disturbing the pavement right now, I think if it's ever a problem, that the association will take care of it.
And you do have a maintenance plan of that, a stormwater maintenance plan, right?
Did it file with the town? Do you have a record of that?
I was provided.
Yeah, it was,
Okay.
We should, yeah. I believe that. Yeah, Engineering Alliance provided that.
So, Kirk, if I may ask you, what is the requirement? How many times a year do they have to clean that tank?
Oh, I'd have to look, whether it was once or twice a year, I don't recall.
So how would you access it to clean it?
From the catch basin.
yeah, there's another manhole which is accessible. It's just the particle separator that doesn't have the actual porthole inspections, right?
Snake in through the pipe.
They're
with the
just
camera.
inspection, they're just
I installed
inspection
them.
portholes.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
can be cleaned from the manhole that's already there.
Yep.
I think it's worth noting, and I get if it's paved, not wanting to disturb the paving. It was installed, over 10 years ago?
12, 13 years ago.
12, 13 years ago, and there haven't been any issues with the drainage,
No,
right?
Correct.
Has it been cleaned since it's been installed?
no,
No.
Has it been inspected?
no.
Well,
I mean, they can pop the manhole and inspect it, right?
Yeah,
We could have that done.
you'd have it done.
I mean, it's a recommendation. I would say if you respond, and again, you're not asking the town to take ownership of it.
Correct.
So,
Association would be ultimately responsible, right? I mean, that's the major concern,
Yeah.
is the responsibility of the town.
I think that, it would be on the association as well to keep up with that O&M plan, because an issue with the drainage there could lead to drainage issues outside of that property for other people in town. So I think it's important to document that O&M plan is followed.
Well, the catch basin up on the top of Winter Street goes through 90 Winter, separate drain altogether. So only Rivercrest Circle is being maintained by that, you know what I'm saying? At the top of Winter Street, that catch basin is going down. I put in maybe 20 years ago a 21-inch reinforced concrete down to the river.
Right, that's a good point. Well, the fact that the association would maintain that structure, if you do not want to adhere to that recommendation,
I only
I don't
have
have-
one question to that, and if I
Yeah.
may turn to legal counsel. Would it be acceptable for the developer to submit a plan or a statement saying that the association would be responsible for it? Nothing would ever come back on the town of Saugus.
It would
Well-
have to be some kind of a covenant.
Well, that would be the covenant, by accepting the road, that the association is gonna maintain the particle separator and the drainage.
Could that be part of it?
Is there an HOA for the,
Yes.
take care of the
Yeah,
recorded?
yeah,
everything?
I don't know if
yeah,
it's
it was in
recorded, that's what I'm
2011.
asking.
I have a copy of it right here.
Okay. Make that part of the agreement, be filed with the town, with the engineer and the DPW, so that it'd be on record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has Brendan
Would that be
seen the
acceptable?
as-built?
yes. Yep, and they've inspected the sidewalk work.
Could we require for an inspection before this article is drawn up? Being seen that it's been in 17
Now,
years.
Larry did an inspection.
Oh, Larry
you
did
know.
do an inspection.
Larry
Right,
did
right.
an
Well, that's
inspection and had all
where, we
his
had a list of
notes, yeah.
I
20
didn't see
things
that.
that we took care
Yeah.
of, right? You looked the stuff over that Larry wrote up, right?
Yeah, David showed me that
Yeah.
that was addressed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the one question.
The sidewalk was the big
Separate.
thing,
Yeah.
you know, and we did that maybe
Sidewalk.
two months ago.
Yeah.
And the frames and covers raised to grade, and that was done, you said? And that was it? Those are the only issues. Brendan doesn't have anything outstanding, so,
Correct.
okay. So tonight, this is on for an informal discussion. Are you looking to,
Well, what I'm looking for is, I do have some money in a passbook loan, you know, like a bond. I'd like to maybe get some money released. I think I have over $30,000 in there, so, which the town clerk is holding the passbook. So I'd like to get some money released there, and I guess maybe if they could accept plowing the street too. Or does that have to be accepted first?
That's it.
Because right now, I'm responsible for it,
Yeah.
so.
I'm not really sure, this is my first time doing that.
Yeah. It's.
Jesse,
why I'm
we need your
town
advice.
council.
Yeah, we need your advice since we're all new at this.
What's the question?
As long as we had the agreement that the HOA would maintain it, not the town, then we could accept this as a closure to that subdivision.
He's looking to close out his bond and everything, it sounds like all his requirements have been met by the.
This is the only thing that's
Well,
outstanding.
Yeah,
There's still one undeveloped lot on the subdivision, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
I don't know if that changes anything.
Sidewalks in, driveways in.
yeah, water and sewer is on the lot,
they don't
so
have
we
to
don't
touch
have
the main
to,
street
we
again.
won't have to
Right.
disturb, you
Yeah,
know?
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
do all houses have to be developed before you can close out a subdivision?
No.
No? Okay. So you're looking to close it out?
Right,
Let's go.
And the process would be not until a town meeting the road would get accepted, right? But if we,
Yeah, not necessarily
We
at this town
approve
meeting,
the-
not all streets go right on the town meeting. I don't even know what the process is for that, but I know.
Yeah,
this-
somehow, I think, from the last meeting that I was here, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, you know, I filed a Form K and everything else, and somehow it went in front of the board. Because my mother was watching it, she's saying, wow, Rivercrest Circle's coming up to be accepted.
Did they?
The
did they
applicant's
vote to
not here,
accept
and
it?
I'm like, I never got notified, you know what I mean? So
Who
somehow,
would that go in
something
front of?
slipped through there,
DPW.
you know? I
So did
don't.
they vote, did they vote it?
No,
No, because you weren't there?
they said the applicant's not here, so they postponed it.
Well,
Because I called up the head of
Okay.
selectmen, and I'm like, I never heard
guess you're
anything
right.
about
It
it.
would go back on an agenda.
So-
Over the years, the number of streets are unaccepted, currently unaccepted, are referred to the DPW, who go in, do their inspection to see if they're appropriate as far as the town accepting them as accepted streets. The article is then put into the town meeting warrant, and the town meeting votes on accepting the streets. Simple as that. The mileage counts towards the Chapter 90 money that we get. The more mileage we have, the more money we get.
So that would mean that the applicant would remain plowing it until it's accepted by town meeting.
Until it was accepted, yeah.
I would get something in writing from the DPW before I accept anything, and when you accept the street, you have to have plans drawn up, so they usually do plot plans.
Well, we have the as-built will be
Yeah, we
submitted,
have.
you know? I mean,
This
the as-built is
closing
done.
this out separate from accepting the street, that's a separate
Yeah.
process.
Audience Dwyer works for the
So-
town, right?
Yeah, no, we have an as-built plan that we've been keeping up to date here, so, you know, I believe everybody has copies of
Audience
it.
Dwyer says that they're fine. They've managed it. Now, what about conditions? Did the planning board, when they approved this, many, many moons ago, were you here? Did they have any conditions? Do we know that everything was met from the planning board perspective? Conditions? Yeah.
Those were
I think you're the only one that was here back then.
That's why you need something from the DPW, you know.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's what Larry was in the process of doing,
Right.
in fairness to Kevin. And he come up with these covers not being done, with the road not, with the sidewalks not being finished. Some of that has been completed.
Change the cover.
Yeah, just change the manhole lid that said, it said sewer instead of waste or whatever, you know?
Yeah, drain.
So, since this is on for an informal discussion, can we continue it to our next meeting, December 17th, and then we'll see what we can get in writing from Brendan and a recommendation from the engineer on whether or not they feel like it's been satisfied, we can release it, and then we'll have all that in writing and put it on so we can vote on it on the 17th? Does that sound like okay to everybody?
So
Yeah, and
you-
sorry,
You
John.
will get us that declaration
Okay, yeah.
under acceptance?
I'll just have him modify that. No, I'm not sure that it says in there about the drainage as far as, but my lawyer Nelson, he'll take care of that.
I understand the logic of, you know, not raising that hatch, but it's possible the O&M plan has language about that hatch, so that'll be part of my review during that time.
That's all you got. I think that between now and then, you would have an answer for us.
Yeah, and the release of the funds, I don't know how we'll look into that, or,
Well, they would need recommendation from the DPW,
That everything's been satisfied.
that this is at the building department.
Right, you could still release, you know.
For the last lot.
We'll, between now and the next meeting, we can get all that language. I've never done that before either.
Okay. Jesse, can you
Because
help
I-
us with that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, for the benefit of the applicant,
Yes.
there's specific requirements for certifications that need to be submitted for release of the performance bond.
Okay,
So just recommendation to your council to take a careful look through the rules and regulations in section 3C and make sure that all the certifications are done.
Okay.
For completion of the road, completion of all conditions of the subdivision approval.
any other questions from board members?
So do you think you can do that in the next 2 weeks, or do you think you need more time?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds
Okay,
good.
we'll
as long as we
make
have a
motion.
meeting. I think, you know, I've been on the agenda, I think, for a couple meetings. It's been,
Well, that's why I'm here, because I got changed from last
yeah,
week. but-
Dave's on a
big deal.
seminar today.
Yeah, no big
Dwyer.
deal.
Okay.
Mr. Randall? Bob, any questions?
No.
Can I get a motion
Motion. For-
to continue?
Well, it's not,
it's
it's
not-
just an
okay,
informal.
so-
Just,
so
we'll
should
just
we-
put you
should
on the
we-
agenda. Nancy, can you just make sure they're on the agenda for the 17th?
Right, so she'll take, so we are on the agenda, we don't have to file anything.
Nope, just work with Larry and make sure they, I mean,
Kevin.
very, very sorry.
it made him
Very,
nervous
very
now.
sorry. PTSD? I saw it flash
Wait a
over
minute, we
here.
could have a different engineer by next week. don't we?
Yeah,
No,
right.
No, we're not letting
trying to
Kevin
get this
go.
done, yeah.
Okay, sorry. All right, so we will see you on the 17th.
Yeah.
See you then.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can I make my favorite motion?
you most certainly
I
can.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, everyone.